Advocates of Northern Indiana for a very interesting conversation. Absolutely. Make sure you go check them out. They've got the smoke off coming up in just a couple weeks or so. So we definitely keep reminding you about that. We got a guest in studio right now that we've had on before, and I know it seems like I throw the word around God's work, but this guy and his wonderful organization are absolutely out there doing it. He is from Grace Beyond Borders. We're talking about Mr. Marcus Martin. And they go out here and they help people that are dealing with homeless problems. And I remember talking to you now. It comes back to me when you were kind of talking about this story and how you kind of got into this. But first of all, before we get started, I want to welcome you to the show, man. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
Did you get younger since we last talked?
No, I wish. But I appreciate the opportunity to be guest again on your show.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the organization for people that are not familiar with Grace Beyond Borders. You're based out of East Chicago, but you serve, I would assume you kind of extend into the region.
Northwest Indiana. Yeah. Homelessness comes to us from a lot of different places, right. Even Venezuela.
Oh.
And Peru, believe it or not. So we deal with, this is our 10th anniversary year.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of work, but a lot of challenges, but that's what we're called to do. That's what I'm called to do, yeah. And I have a wonderful team, small team. We want to grow, but right now the team we call them Team Awesome.
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to talk. You got some events coming up and things like that, but you kind of brought something up, and obviously you're on the front lines, and so. I'm sure you can appreciate these questions, and I'm sure our audience will, because I think, when we get an opportunity to talk to somebody like yourself who works for an organization yourself, we don't have to sit over here and speculate, we can get a bird's eye view about what it's like on the front lines. And you brought up the situation about homelessness, and it's starting to get new faces. And, we see what's going on in Chicago. We appreciate what's happening in New York. We understand, and I'm not going to get political with it, about our migrant problem, because even though we do talk the political aspect of it on the show, full disclosure, the one thing that I've made it a point to do is also want to remind everybody that even if I get off on my tangents, we want to always talk about the humanity of it, and that there are human beings, men, women, children, who are in a foreign land, do not usually have a lot of resources. Some people have given up everything they had to be part of this trek up here, and whether we agree with it or not, they're still human beings. And so I want to talk to you about the human aspect of it, because you talked about, some of these, the homeless problem has a face of Venezuelan. Some of it looks like it's, from Panama. Just talk about what that's like dealing with that. Is there an overflow that's coming over from Illinois? And then more importantly, and I think this is where the politics come in. We see the community meetings in Chicago. I think a lot of us are worried about resources. Because as you know, getting ready to go on your 10th anniversary of being in the game, we have Americans, tried and true, veterans, people who have put their name on the dotted line, and sometimes through whether it be some mental issues or whatever their issues are, find themselves in situations in which they need access to the resources you provide. So how is it, are you being strained now? Is the industry being strained? I know I'm asking a lot of questions. Go ahead and kind of start from the beginning.
Okay, let me see if I can catch the point. Yes, well, as you can see in our 10th anniversary year here, we've already serviced over 17,000
wow.
Individuals right here in Northwest Indiana.
Yeah.
So, and that was a stretch even to accomplish that.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see, we've had over almost 500 rescues off the streets of individuals right here in Northwest Indiana, even filtering over the state line from Illinois.
Right.
And believe it or not, I think I shared on the last show, Wisconsin, Michigan.
Yeah.
Homelessness comes from a lot of different directions.
Right.
But the thing is, we can only provide what we can provide.
Yeah.
We only can handle with the resources that we have. Now, with the overflow of migrants coming to the East Chicago, I'm going to talk about East Chicago.
Yeah.
I was wondering how did that happen? What's going on? But anyway, it's there. And we provided food, clothing, but as far as any other resources,
mm-hmm.
we cannot. And we just cannot. We're stressed enough in dealing with the population here, but we don't ignore what's going on, and we provide and give resources and help where needed.
So what is there? Is there some federal intervention or federal agency that you can kind of pass it off to? Because even though obviously politically we're talking two different states, Illinois being a blue state, Democratic, Indiana kind of red, different attitudes towards the migrant situation. But as we've said before, it's just natural, it's organic that being this close to Chicago, some of these migrants will find themselves over here in specifically Northwest Indiana. So as you talk about that, dealing with 500 here, 500 there, I'm sure, 100 will kind of throw your budget and things out of whack. And so what do you do in situations like that? Because you're in a business where there's a lot of compassion. You're not doing this to turn people away. And I know you try to maybe direct people to other resources that, because you might be, out of them or what have you. But how does that look? How does that work?
Well,
Is the federal government involved?
Not in our organization.
Right. In this situation?
Yes, we've heard of some federal dollars, and we do look at that. We're not going to ignore those opportunities, and we do seek them. And we do refer, particularly the migrant population, over to the Department of Family Services because they have federal dollars to help.
Okay.
So that's an easy flow for us to just refer them there. Yeah. We provide what we can, and we refer them for the additional services that they need. Now, in our 10th anniversary, we set a goal to raise $100,000 just to kind of increase our resources and capacity to handle. And that's a small number, 100,000. That was just for our women and children's mission.
Yeah,
but
right.
But
budget is somewhere around $500,000 to $750,000.
I wish. That's the goal. And there will be in that arena when we add our men's mission, which we do have the facility, the building for that. But then again, we can't go any further than the resources allow us because you can only stretch people so far.
Right.
We have a wonderful team of volunteers, but volunteers have families, volunteers have personal things they're dealing with. So, illnesses, death in the family are all going to impact all of us. So there's time away, and that means, again, we're stretched even further. But we're going to continue to reach out for the dollars that are available right here in our communities.
Right.
And in terms of, yes, the federal can help, but also we reach out to our community. For example, for the month of November, I'm just asking people just to skip one meal. And donate that. And if they want to skip more, we hope that they skip more than one meal for National Hunger and Homeless Week, just to skip one meal.
Right.
And donate that amount, because then we can take that and we can provide that to that mom with the children or to that male, the man on the street that we run into. We can be able to provide those services, just to make a connection so that, again, we can build that relationship, because we go out on the streets a lot. Yeah. It's not an easy task to get people to move off of the streets. Right. There's a trust issue that many people have, and then you're dealing with a lot of mental health issues, substance abuse, and in some cases, you're not going to find individuals who are homeless and they have that coat of shame. Yeah. And they're very invisible. Yeah. But they
don't make themselves available.
Right, because they're very embarrassed. It's even difficult sometimes to get them to come into our program. We don't use the word shelter because they really run. I don't want to be in a homeless shelter.
Right.
They don't want that stigma on them. But we're a program to realize that it's not just a place to come in and lie down. We have classes. Yeah. We have programs. We have resources. We work with partnerships that we connect people. It's kind of a huge project in terms of connecting people. And just recently, we moved 4 women out of our program into housing. Nice. And that was huge. And thanks to some of the property owners out here, if I can mention their names. One is Steve Mays of State Farm. Yeah, he opened up properties for some of our residents, which is key because we, not a lot is affordable out there to
Absolutely.
the people that we're dealing with, and we just wanted to be affordable.
Yeah.
And so he opened the doors for some of our residents, which is huge. And Councilman Dwayne Ransford Jr.
Well, he just got
of East
reelected in
Chicago.
Congratulations.
Yes,
One of
he
our
owns a
guys.
lot of properties,
He does.
and so he says yes. He sent his
Yeah.
team down there to work with us. So we know now we're going to have connections for
Yeah.
people to get housing, but there's a process before they move into
Yeah,
housing.
there is.
We got some mind change, the transformations that need to happen.
Now, let me ask you about this because I actually was kind of participating in somewhat of a workshop, and it was actually about this subject about homelessness. And there's as much as you all try to kind of encompass everything, there's still these little loopholes and things that allow people to fall through the cracks, because this specific thing was about young people and how to spot homelessness by teenagers and things like that. And so I think about, you were talking about the women and being put in shelters, which is great, but some of the challenges are men. And then in particular, a lot of these shelters, when you get adolescent young men, they don't want them in there. They have to kind of find other places because for safety reasons and things of that nature for some of the other occupants. And so how do you kind of deal with that when how do you make sure these young people don't fall through the cracks?
That's great. And again, that's where your resources are important, because a lot of the adolescents need a lot of services.
They need a lot of
They're
service.
coming out of just some horrendous situations. And we have to make sure that we are mindful of the fact that they need a little bit more attention and resources. And because we've dealt with some of those cases in which wanting to help them, but some of them prefer to stay in an abandoned building, and because they have freedom to do what they want to do, not looking ahead. And so we work with them.
It's a dangerous proposition to do
Yes.
that.
It's very dangerous and it's illegal. So we always want to make sure we're there, because oftentimes people come to us when they hit rock bottom.
Exactly. We're talking with Mark
Yes.
Jordan of Grace with Beyond Borders, a wonderful organization. They got fundraising coming up. We're going to be talking about that in just a second. I think you and I have talked about this before, but I want to bring it up again, because I would assume, in particular right now, here we are in November, and while the term is the spirit of giving, you're not the only game out here in town that's that kind of times their fundraising right around this time, when people kind of have this attitude where they want to go out here and separate a little bit of their money from themselves. And so I want you to kind of answer, how competitive is it out there? How difficult has it been? And then you sprinkle in the fact that we're not in the best place with the economy. People are really right now kind of holding on to their dollars. We think about post-COVID, where now, because of what happened during COVID-19 and people just saw the world stop and they had to get into their savings, they're a little bit more reluctant to kind of go out here and kind of separate themselves once again from their money. So what have been the challenges for you to go out here around this time and kind of raise that money you need? Because you can't go out here and pretend that you don't need what you're asking for. I'm sure what you're asking for is less than what you really need, but you're just trying to keep it going to survive.
Well, I know you're familiar with CWIT, marketing and PR. They are tremendous in terms of making sure that we're out front there and show what we're doing. And that's the key. We have the stories. And sometimes it's not easy getting stories from individuals, but we have stories. I shared two with you. But the key is the story, to show the work that we're doing, because people, again, a lack of trust. Okay, where's the money going? Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of money that we're dealing with, but where is it going? And we want to show them. And that's where, CWIT has really played a role in making sure through social media, new, print, and here, where I am today, that the message get out there. We're working. We're getting results out there. When you move people out of homelessness into housing, especially if they have children, is critical. To find the affordable housing, to be able, and I have to compliment the team. Brandy Robinson, Minister Terry Griffith, Michelle Merritt, Darlene Ruffin, and others who really make that happen. Because we have to go out. We have to go out and seek the resources that to be competitiveness, but there's a lot of, I'm talking about
like with all other organizations that are nonprofits.
Right.
This is the season. in which they're really counting on going out here and being aggressive before the end of the fourth quarter and trying to get some operating cash.
Right. It's a lot of dollars available out there.
Okay.
So I don't see this. I don't see it as a competition for the dollars, because there's a lot of dollars out. There's a lot of millionaires out there.
Okay.
So we really don't have to compete. It's just finding those the heart of those donors to give back. Kawan Short.
Oh.
NFL, former
who he
NFL
is.
football
His name's
player, right. For the last 4 years, I'm sorry.
Isn't he from Chicago?
Yes, for 4 years now. I think it's the fourth year he's sponsoring for families for Thanksgiving, which is good. I mean, he's giving back,
Right.
and also they're doing additional things. We needed sleepwear for the women and children when they came to our place, and oh boy, they loaded us up with the sleepwear, the Kawan Short charities, and those may seem like little things, but they're important because we don't use sleepwear. Right. We want sleepwear that's new, under clothes that are new. Right. So all of that plays into that. So it's not a competition. It's just finding those donors who can connect with you and understand the heart of giving, what it really means to give. Because this is a giving season, but we're 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So every month is a holiday giving time that we are seeking the funding to do what we're called to do. Yeah. And, it gets challenging because, if the dollar flow is not coming in, but when I see that gift come from out of state, that reaches us because of a past relationship, I'm like, wow. I mean, it's tremendous. Yeah. And, in terms of our $100,000, I had a $10,000 gift that came all the way from Rhode Island. So I got contacted by Edward Jones Financials. I'm like, what? Yeah. But
who sent it out of Rhode Island? I probably know him. It's as big as a postage stamp.
This is related to my previous job, Boys and Girls Clubs, and one of the staff from the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, who has supported us since 2012. Yeah. With smaller gifts, but all of a sudden we get this large gift, and I'm like, wow,
bankrupt Rhode Island,
because he saw the work that we're doing. Yeah. And that's a heart. I mean, connecting people's hearts to the people that's out there on the streets who really want help.
Well, we're talking with Marcus from Grace Beyond Borders, of course. As we said, they got their fundraising season coming out. As you heard them, it's really 24/7, 365. But they do have opportunities coming up. I want to ask you, obviously we're getting into the winter now, and you were talking about, sleepwear and things like that. I've talked to some other people who have dealt with the homeless, and they always talk about sometimes this is a very trying time, because sometimes, I had one gentleman on who was giving an example about, about sometimes you just got to be committed to it, because when he's gone out here and he's identified a gentleman or what have you that needed some help, he went out, went in his pocket, went in the budget, they bought a winter coat, he comes back, the guy done sold the coat, but he still has to go out here and get that. He wants to give him another coat. Matter of fact, I think this was Pastor Jackson of St. Timothy was telling me this story. What are the challenges? Because right now, obviously we're in the Midwest. This isn't California. This isn't Houston, Texas, where you can kind of go out here and don't have to deal with the elements as much. Here, we know what the winters are here, and we're talking about some severe, life-threatening winters. So how do you deal with that?
Urban Enterprise Academy in East Chicago.
Give shouts out.
Is having a tremendous drive that started in October, in which they're collecting a number of, clothing that we identified that we need, coats, other sweatshirts, personal hygiene, shoes, socks. They're collecting that. Boots. Yes, so as a community service project, the students are doing that within their school and reaching out to their the families, the parents that are there.
That's smart when you get kids involved, because that also gives them a little empathy and a little awareness about homelessness. Because sometimes some of them might even know other students that might be going through that. And I just think it's good to start early to get some compassion embedded in these kids.
I want to address the what you brought up about providing a code or clothing for someone and then they sell the items. Yes, I've encountered that situation. I know it was fueling an addiction. So, but the thing is, we still give them what they need, and they understand that we still give them what they need, and we still make sure that we continue to but we're not going to buy, we don't keep giving codes for sale because we're trying to get them out of that situation. We're trying to move them forward. But see,
as you said, we program, and so there's steps and layers to this where you're really trying to move people to self-sufficiency. This isn't just about going out here giving people supplies all the time. You want them to kind of get into different stages, and then in the end, I believe they graduate.
So we have more contact with them. It's not just go out one time and you go out, you pass out all the winter things, and then you don't come back till a month later or a year later.
Right.
No, we are connecting with them weekly. We make sure that they see our faces. We make sure that they understand that we know we just gave you a code last week. So what happened to the code? You got some explaining to do. But also we want to talk about the root of the problem and get down to how we can really help you.
Have counselors and all that kind of stuff to provide with them.
Yes, we had that through some partnerships. We have our team works there also. But again, we're talking about getting to the root issue of what's causing the homelessness and helping them work their way out and seeing the resources and help that they need. Because you mentioned anything about going mental health, boom, you get a wall set up. I'm not going for that, even though you know the individual. So we have to present it in a different way to make sure they understand and ease them into those type of things to make sure they get what they need. We had I was contacted by a business in Hammond, Indiana last month about a woman who appeared to be homeless on the street of Indianapolis Boulevard. So I said, okay, we're going to go out there, and I observed and saw who the woman was and actually knew her from East Chicago. So I had to go get one of my female volunteers to come in so we can transport her because she wanted to go to the hospital. And she wanted to go to the psych ward. She says, okay, so, we'll get you off the street, we'll take you there. But when it came time for her to get into the van, she didn't want to get in.
Now, who pays for the hospital visits?
She has, that's handled by her in the hospital.
All right.
So we just transport, we were just transporting her there. So my volunteer was excellent, and having her there was important because she was able to get into the van. But once it got to the hospital, she didn't want to get out of the van. So she worked with her then, and very patient and calm with her. Come on, and took her by the arm and walked her over there to get the help. So sometimes we don't see that. Sometimes people say, "Oh, we tried to help," and they went. But sometimes it takes a little bit more, and that's what that's what we call them team also.
Do they go through training? Because I know this is kind of rare, but there are instances in which it can get very confrontational, I would assume, and you have to have people that have a little bit of patience, tolerance. I would kind of sum it up and say training, so that you understand that you're trying to help this person. This person is just reacting that way. It's not a personal one-on-one engagement of you.
And here's the blessing of it. A lot of our volunteers have come out of homeless situations
so they know exactly
through our program, and they make some of the best volunteers. I love watching them working with some of them that won't listen to me, or they put a barrier up. So I love seeing them, and I know because they have the heart and compassion to do it. And these volunteers are doing that because they want to do that. And so, yes, training is, in fact, they just had a training Saturday, second part of a training called Adverse Childhood Experiences.
Oh, my goodness.
So get an understanding, because a lot of homelessness come out of those situations. Women and men. See, men, there's an embarrassment. A lot of men don't want to really share that they have been, sexually abused when they were young. That's an embarrassment. That's a loss of manhood. They feel So there's a lot of trust, and so a lot of training goes into that to understand the surface behavior we see is only the surface.
We're talking with Marcus Martin. Before we get ready to wrap it, I want you to get into this right here. But before you do, I mean, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you about your team is, what is the art? What's the science to how you all go out?
That flyer, there's a survey.
Yeah.
And on the survey, one of the questions asking, well, some of the questions are, of course, your name, your age range, if you're homeless, also your address where you live.
So no county agency, nobody from the state wants to ask you to share that data
once a year.
They can have it.
Once a year.
Okay.
But, we share that data in our grant for our grantors. We make sure they have that information. But the surveys helps identify who may be in a homeless situation.
Right, I get it.
Who need the help, because homelessness is very, very invisible.
Yeah.
We've had over 805 cases from July to August that we've had to respond to or see if we can connect with. But yes, so do we see 805 people out on the streets lying down? No.
See, that's why I asked that question, because if I work with the county, if I'm a county agency, or if I work with the state, you're providing a useful service that can help me kind of compile some information that I need, because I want to know what's the living situation with my citizenry. And if I'm in the county, I like to know if there's a fluctuation in homelessness, if it's going up, if it's coming down. Obviously, we're going to give you credit for doing it, but as far as the data, I can kind of understand what's going on. Are we importing people into the situation that are not getting jobs, able to take care of themselves? Are people here kind of migrating into homelessness for a variety of situations? I think the data that you compile tells so many different stories on a governmental level. That's why I'm just interested, are the right people calling and asking you for that data to share it?
I share that information with American Rescue. I share that information with them. But for others, my mentors taught me you have to pay to play.
Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to sit you down my road, because I can take you down a bad place.
Okay, but let me explain it. Because again, we're out there working, but also we need the resources to do what we're doing.
Caller, hey, good morning, quickly. Hello?
Yeah, thank you for having this man on.
Yeah.
I have a question. Sorry to interrupt, but real quick, I'm working with a homeless mom right now, and the only thing that's stopping her from getting her kids is housing. So maybe later, before you get off the air, you can give me some information on how I can connect her to your agency. I appreciate it.
Oh, excellent. Good stuff. Go ahead, Marcus.
Yes. Again, it's critical that we are able to get funding to do what we're doing.
Right.
And we give out data annually every year for their count they do in January.
So
we share that.
Question? Did you hear her question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can provide the phone number for her to call.
But I appreciate it. So you say the data is available if anybody asks you for it. You're not hiding it.
No. We work with people, and again, the biggest challenge is that we receive a lot of referrals
Yeah.
of homelessness.
Yeah.
Hey, call this number. But some of the referrals are coming from individuals who have the dollars,
Right.
who can very easily partner with us and make it a little bit easier for us to work together.
Yeah.
And we can pay the light, we can pay utilities, we can do this, we can have the staffing there
Right.
to continue what we're doing. Relying on volunteers only is very challenging because people get ill sometimes.
Yeah.
People have personal things they have to take care of, so you're short there. But we want a solid staff, and we're going to continue building that way, and that's going to be our focus.
Volunteers this time of year, because obviously I know a number of organizations. I'll give a shout out, Dr. Smith, and a number of different organizations that around Thanksgiving they have the dinners and things like that. And I want to ask you, as you said, volunteers, but people have families themselves, and they want to have their celebrations and traditions. But it does seem like people are willing nowadays to kind of go out here on a Christmas Day, on a Thanksgiving, and participate in some of this for a couple hours.
Yes, again, most of our activities are outdoors,
Oh.
and so we have had,
You're serving
pre-pandemic.
outside.
Yes,
Oh.
pre-pandemic, we had a big event at one of our locations
Yeah.
that we have an office. We rent office space from the Salvation Army in Chicago, so we would have a big event there that was well attended, and so that was great. But then, the pandemic came, and we hadn't been. That took a lot of volunteers, and before we do that. We have to have, that solid base of volunteers. Outdoors, yes, we get some volunteers. We get calls from churches that during this time they want to come in and cook meals. They want to volunteer.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we need a little bit more,
Let me ask you this.
notification of
Have you
that.
ever reached out to the Lake County prosecutor? Because as I sit back, and even the school district, but I'm gonna start off with the prosecutor. Because there are a lot of young people who, maybe get in a little bit of trouble. Not serious. I mean, it's young people stuff. But I think, when you think about community service, when you think about young people who are trying to get some community service on their college applications, who are in their junior and senior years, there's probably no better place to go out here and really impress people by going out here and giving just a couple of hours, giving a little bit of your youth, because they can take it, they're young, and help out with you. I mean, have you reached out with these organizations?
No, I haven't, but we have a volunteer coordinator
Yeah.
who does that work. We don't have anybody at
No,
this
we're
point,
not
but
prosecutors
that's why our volunteer coordinator is critical. That we have a staff person on there
Yeah.
who that's their role,
Yeah.
to make sure that we connect with a number of different
Yeah,
agency
you need
churches,
some young
and I think it's critical. My children, my two children that I have, grew up.
See, there you go. You're a great example of that.
And actually, we're on the front lines of helping provide meals, both indoor and outdoors,
You're a
as they were
great
growing
dad.
up.
You're a
But
great
see,
dad.
again, that was just offered if they're willing to go. That wasn't, that you had to go do that. And they were willing to go, and they learned from that. And I think because of that, they want to give back to the community.
Yeah, right.
They want to give back. They give back to my organization, so which is a huge blessing. But they saw firsthand what's going on in the community, and I think that's important.
Okay.
Always that the young people know and understand what's going on in the community from all levels.
Well, Marcus, this has been very, very informative as always. Once again, Grace Beyond Borders. Their P.O. box is P.O. 92070, Chicago, Indiana, 46312. Their phone number is 219-392-9932. And, of course, their website is www.gracebeyondborders.org. Explain before we go about, I'll let you talk about the gift levels, because I want you to explain about, you've got 3 different tiers, and I want you to explain those very quickly.
Yes. For our 100th anniversary, for our 10th anniversary, our goal, raising $100,000 to address some immediate needs and resources we needed. When we went out, approached the businesses and other individuals who had the capacity to give, and anyone. So we had 3 different gift levels, and just say that we're almost halfway.
Yeah.
Of our goal
Oh,
as of
look at
today.
you.
Yes, we're almost at the 50,000 mark. So hope those gifts. But we had 3 levels that we offer
Get another
people.
50 grand, you know that.
Yes, yeah, because you're going to write a check for me, right? No. You know, right? 50 grand, we're going to settle that. But anyway, just, we have a nice permanent wall banner in which we put then there are coins falling down, and it's called, give real change, not spare change, give real change.
Make real change.
Yes, giving real change, not spare change. So the coin, and there's different size coins. Is the shepherd level of giving starts at $500.
Okay.
And all the way to $4,999 and 99 cents.
I see what you're doing there.
And then angel level is $5,000 to $9,999, and guardian is $10,000 to $24,999. I didn't put the 99 cents on that,
No,
but
I know you did. If anybody is wondering just how legit you are, I can tell you right now that this is all about tax purposes with the way they're phrasing it. And so obviously you are a 501c3. These are deductible.
Yes.
For people that give, because I think when you put that in there, people are like, oh, okay, yeah, here we are in November. I'm filing my taxes in a couple of months. Let's go ahead and give.
Yes, that's the blessing of it,
Yeah.
in that you're giving to help other individuals, but also you benefit through your taxes from that giving.
Absolutely.
And so we welcome that support, and we need that support. And thanks to C-WID, you're going to see our support through Facebook, on social media platform. You're going to see it through email blasts that they put out, and also in their newsletter, as well as other information that they put out in print. So you'll see the work.
I know.
The homeless population is invisible, but our work is visible.
Well, before you go, what do you think our current population of homelessness is in? I don't know. Do you know the whole region, or at least just give me Chicago?
It fluctuates.
Yeah.
Remember when the migration from Chicago with the closing of the housing developments there brought a lot of families over here, and with those families came the children, the adult children who were growing up. So yeah, a lot of times I get calls.
Got Section 8.
So they did the initial family, but then you got the other families who run in homeless situations, and they rely on them, and they overstay their visit. So, there's a lot going on, and we getting well up. Like again, we've already had, by the end of the year, we'll have already dealt with over 1,000 cases easily that come our way. Not that we can handle all of that, we can't. But I'm saying that those we'll hear about it, and we will identify. And again, we do surveys, even on phone calls. You want to know a little bit about you in the situation, and see how we can help.
All right.
And see what help individuals want.
I got you.
All of that's critical in the work that we're doing.
All right, Marcus. I really appreciate these conversations, my friend. Go out here and get that 50 grand.
I'm waiting on it here. I can wait for no.
I left my checkbook at home. I'll get back to you. Anyway, with that, once again, great to be on board. It's a wonderful organization, as it said. He's asking at bare minimum, just skip a meal. Any little bit helps. It can really make a difference for what they're out here doing, trying to really affect and help out these people that find themselves in that situation. I always like to end it, and I think I told you before, I remember I was kind of being a little smart aleck when I was a kid about a guy that was asking for a little help and some change, and I got in the car, and I was talking about, look, Dad, this is a hobo, and he immediately checked me and put me in my place and said, you know what, me or anybody else are only two decisions or bad bad luck happening from being in that situation. So homelessness is not that far removed for many of us. So we want to just
thank
say
you.
Thank you for what
Thank you for having me here today and giving me this opportunity to share
All right.
Grace Beyond Borders.
My friend, we're going to get ready to take